WFYI podcast brought to you by Bloomington, Indiana, an American college town offering food and drink, college sports, outdoor activities, live music, cool art, and good times daily. Everyone is welcome in Bloomington. More information at visitbloomington.com.
This is WFYI News Now. It's March 18th, and I'm Darian Benson. On today's show, construction season kicks off in Indianapolis. Governor Holcomb signs a bill involving the city of Gary's legal dispute with the gun industry. Holcomb signs a bill that will impact ambulance providers, and a bill gets signed that aims to fight against truancy in schools.
If a student has 5 unexcused absences, their school must create an attendance plan. That plan can include wraparound services.
Those stories coming up, but first, author and writer Dan Wakefield passed away last week in Indianapolis. Wakefield was 91 years old and spent his final years in the city where he was born and raised. His writing career started as a journalist in New York in the 1950s when he traveled to Mississippi to cover the Emmett Till trial. Wakefield wrote over 2 best-selling novels in the 1970s, Going All the Way and Starting Over. Talking to WFYI in 2016, Wakefield said his secret to success was honesty.
I decided to myself, I don't want to write the way that people were supposed to talk or the way they were supposed to behave. I want to write the way they really talked and they really behaved.
Wakefield spent time in his final years teaching, lecturing, and leading workshops. And construction season has finally kicked off. WFYI's Jill Sheridan reports the city will spread its funding across a number of projects, including roads, bridges, stormwater, and trails.
A total of $363 million in infrastructure projects is planned for this season. That amount is down from last year, but more than the city has historically been able to spend. Officials say it's all part of a 5-year, $1.2 billion capital plan that has grown because of aggressive budgeting, state house cooperation, and grant opportunities. The spending includes more multimodal projects for bicycles and pedestrians, including 20 miles of bike lanes, 25 miles of sidewalks, and about 17 miles of trails. More than 240 miles of new or rehabbed roadways are planned, as well as 19 bridge projects. The city will also continue to invest in residential roadways and two-way street conversions. I'm Jill Sheridan.
A lawsuit between the city of Gary and some in the gun industry is likely over after Governor Eric Holcomb signed a bill into law Friday torpedoing the suit. The legislation bans any community in the state from suing the gun industry ever again, even if they do something illegal, with very limited exceptions. Critics of the measure say lawmakers interfering in an ongoing lawsuit should be out of bounds, but Holcomb says he doesn't have a problem with it.
It would be the first time, so it's not unprecedented. This is where issues and policies that affect the state as a whole are appropriately debated.
Gary's lawsuit has been going on for 25 years, in part because Indiana lawmakers have tried to end it before. The governor also signed legislation last week that will establish requirements for how health plans pay out-of-network ambulance providers. Indiana Public Broadcasting's Abigail Ruman reports the new law also includes a program that would support communities starting or expanding their mobile response programs.
The legislation requires health plans to pay out-of-network ambulance providers for transports at rates set by a county or municipality. If there is no local rate, insurers pay the lower of 2 options: the provider's billed charges or 400% of the Medicare base rate. The law does not affect a number of insurance plans that the state cannot regulate under federal law. The author of the legislation says it also doesn't impact state employee health plans or Medicaid. The law also establishes the Community Cares Initiative Grant Pilot Program to provide financial support for mobile response programs. These programs can support existing emergency services and connect people to resources within the community. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Abigail Ruman.
And for our final story today, Indiana schools would be required to intervene when elementary students are truant under a bill signed by Governor Holcomb last week. From WFYI's Education Desk, Dylan Pierce-McCoy reports on the state's effort to improve attendance.
The new law aims to place more focus on attendance as a statewide priority, and it pushes schools to work with the parents of students in kindergarten through 6th grade. If a student has 5 unexcused absences, their school must create an attendance plan. That plan can include wraparound services, and it can include disciplinary action the school may take if the student doesn't meet attendance requirements. Schools must also hold parent attendance meetings. The law doesn't address middle or high school students. The bill's author says the issue's too complicated to tackle all at once, and she called for the legislature to study it. I'm Dylan Pierce-McCoy.
Legislative leaders have not said whether school attendance will be a focus this summer. That's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by the following people who live in your community: Aubriana Heron, Drew Dodlin, Kendall Antron, who composed the music for this podcast, and me, Darian Benson. Our news director is Sarah Neal Estes. If you like today's episode, remember to subscribe and share, and follow WFYI on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.